Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Where the Road Gets Real. I'm Chris Toon. I'm going to be your host and your chauffeur. On this show, we grab a local expert and we're going to cruise all up and down Southeast Idaho. We're going to talk about some of the things that matter, some of the things that don't, and literally everything in between. There's no polish, no pretending, just real conversations on the real road. So if you're getting any value from these episodes, please hit the follow, like buttons. It helps me more than you know. If you got thoughts, questions, or something I should know, or someone you have in mind to be on my show next, leave that in the comments. All right. If you're ready, let's hop in the truck and let's go pick up our next guest. All right, guys. So today we have Brandon Goff from Idaho Elite Home Inspection. How's it going?
Good to be here.
Yeah, thanks for welcome back, I should say. Had a little recording mishap yesterday, so we're taking another drive today.
Yeah. Either way, I've seen a few of your shows, your podcasts, and looks like you're providing some good value. So
definitely, yeah. And I figured bring you back on, and because there were some awesome key points that we hit yesterday, so get back to it. So, what is a home inspection? I guess.
Yeah, let's start there. One of the things that we talk about when we're educating our clients and our agents, a home inspection is a visual evaluation of the property. We don't do any, invasive testing, but we're there to do a visual inspection and check, the major systems and major components. That's what we're focused on, right? So,
do you have to move anything out of the way, or is it just kind of at eyesight?
Yeah, I mean, there's certain things we can do, but an occupied home, we're not going to be moving furniture, pulling up rugs.
Oh, for sure.
We use the fridge one. We're not pulling fridges out or stoves to look behind them. So we're there to give it a good look, and like I said, we're really focusing on the major systems of the house.
Okay.
So your exterior, your roof, HVAC, plumbing, all those things, and we don't typically spend a ton of time on the more cosmetic things.
Okay.
We're really there. You're paying good money for an inspection, right? So you really want to focus on, the big issues that.
Yeah. I mean, when we get it back on the real estate side, right? We're going back and people try to be like, well, I want, this repainted and whatever. And that's not what this is for.
Yeah.
This is to see in the next 3 to 5 years, is there something that is detrimental to, are you really getting, say, a $200,000 house and you have a $10,000, roof repair coming up? Is it really worth getting the $200,000 house?
Yeah. Yeah. 2 questions not to ask your inspector. Number 1, what do you think about the paint color? We're not good at that. That's what the design team's for, right?
Okay.
The other one is, should I buy this house? And we get that question quite often. And we're honestly not even there to tell them to buy the house or not. It's not a pass or fail by any means. We're there to provide information. And so, when we go through the house, obviously part of it, I tell people all the time, we're in the business of giving bad news.
Right.
And so that's kind of what we do. And obviously the way that we approach that is important to us and the way that we communicate. But with that said, we really focus on the big stuff. Most important, right? And so don't ask us to buy the house. You're not buy the house, right? We don't know your financial situation. We don't know what the details of the deal are.
Right.
Any kind of negotiating that's taking place. We don't know any of that. So, and that's how we want it, right? We don't want to have any of that information. We want to just give an unbiased opinion.
Yeah.
No skin in the game, whether you buy it or not, and give you that information so that the client just has the most information at their power to.
Because you're being ordered or brought in by the buyer. Right. So if you don't have one, your real estate agent should have a list of people that they can suggest to you.
Yeah.
And you come out there but you're providing a service. I don't get any kickback from you for bringing in and I've had you do my personal homes.
Yeah.
And multiple people. I love how you guys set it up to is the red flag, yellow flag sort of deal where it's these are the things that you have to look at right now. And these are things down the road.
Sure.
How long are those reports good for, though?
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, I asked this question in a Facebook group once recently with other home inspectors, just to kind of get a sense for like what their thoughts and opinions were on it. Partly because, you know, we get some questions after the inspection, and so I asked the question on this Facebook group. How long is it valid for? And The initial response from a lot of them was, well, maybe 60 days, maybe 90 days. But most of them actually came back and said, the moment I step off foot off that property, that
It's
expired basically. And the reason for that is, when we do an inspection, it's really we're taking a snapshot in time, right?
right.
And so that report is almost like a picture of the house and every system in the house at the moment we were inspecting it, right?
So if you did it in the morning, in the afternoon, something could have happened.
Right, yeah. And so we talk about we teach CE classes even, and in the CE class we give the example of um, you know, we had in 2018 a big hailstorm came through town and wiped out a ton of neighborhoods. For example, our neighborhood, I think the HOA has something like 46 homes in it.
Yeah.
Every single one of them got a brand new roof on it.
Oh,
And that was actually right before we bought the house.
okay.
We bought that in 2019. And so
Dang.
that at that point, the roof was probably about 25 years old, probably about due to be replaced. And so we got it with a brand new
Got
roof
a
on
nice
it.
new roof
So
on it. So
good for us. We benefited, obviously. But, that day, someone had a home inspection in town, right? Probably a bunch of people. That morning, the inspector went in, walked on the roof, said it was great. And then that afternoon or whenever that storm came through, destroyed tons of
yeah,
roofs. And now that report is not accurate anymore, right?
yeah.
The conditions have changed, and it's no longer valid. And so, same thing. A few years ago, we had some big flooding that came through one afternoon, kind of in this late, I think early spring, and it just was this crazy hail and wind and rainstorm that flooded a bunch of
Came through.
houses, right? And so there were actually window wells that flooded so much that it broke through windows. And
Ooh,
same situation, right? Conditions changed, and things really made that report invalid at that point.
right. No, you guys as home inspectors are more of a generalist, right? Like
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
not like a specialized, like you're not going in and like if we chimneys or septic stuff like that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, the option is there for anybody really to call up a roofer and say, "Hey, I need a roof inspection." To call up an electrician and say, "I want an electrician to evaluate."
Come in,
Right. So you can hire all of these different people. Each one of those are probably going to, charge you $300 to $400 independently, right?
right?
And so that's kind of where the idea of a home inspector came in. Is let's see if there's people that have really general knowledge of the whole house that can save us the money that it would cost to do everything, and just tell us, who we may need at some point, right?
Like if you had a red flag or comes up, you're like, okay, then I need to go in and check the the line going out to the septic
Right.
or to the city or something.
Yeah. Yeah. So, in our CE classes, we talk a lot about how we compare ourselves to a family doctor,
Okay.
right? So,
Oh, that totally makes
uh,
sense.
we're a generalist like a family doctor. He's not like a specific expert on any portion of the body, but he knows how to evaluate people,
Yeah.
right? And so if you go into your doctor and you say, "Hey, I'm feeling lightheaded, I'm not feeling great. I don't know what's going on, doc. What do you suggest we do?"
Right.
He does his test, listen to your lungs, listen to your heart, and he says, "Hey, you know what? I can tell that there's a little issue going on with your heart. Let's send you to a cardiologist," right?
Right.
And so that's kind of where our role comes in is we do the evaluation initially and say, "Hey, you know what? There's some electrical issues. There's an issue with the HVAC system. Roof's missing some shingles." So we can do that at a lower cost, obviously, than the whole, all bringing on all these specialists for each.
Right.
And so that's kind of how the whole concept of home inspector kind of came about.
How long has it been around? Home inspection.
Yeah, I mean, I know some guys that have been kind of in the early days of inspecting, and they started doing inspections in the early '90s.
Okay, so it's not even super old.
Yep, and so it is somewhat a newer concept. We're in a kind of a networking business coaching group, and so we know lots of guys around the country, and um, it's interesting to kind of see how the business models have even evolved over the years.
Sure.
It used to be that most inspectors was just like a guy who kind of did it part time because he knew construction and he had a ladder and a pickup and he would show up and take a look at a house, charge you $200 and be on his way, right?
Do you have to be licensed?
Um, yeah, that's a good question. Originally we're from Washington.
Okay.
And that's where I started doing inspections. And maybe we'll come back to that story. But in Idaho, there's no licensing for home inspectors.
Really?
So
All right.
no certifications, no expectations. I was having a guy we were interviewing actually yesterday, a conversation with him, and he had looked into home inspection a little bit, and so we just talked about it, and I was just telling him, yeah, I mean, you could, grab a ladder, throw it in your truck, print out a business card, and all of a sudden you're quote unquote qualified to do home inspections.
Wow.
So, for our team, we've been doing this long enough that we've developed, a really great internal training program. And then on top of that, we actually require our guys to go through an online course.
Oh, cool.
There's several different associations throughout the country that they're nationally.
Could be like,
yeah, and so they give a certificate, and so it's actually pretty rigorous, pretty detailed. Probably a lot of information isn't as like really required for an inspector to know, but
yeah.
it is at least gives you that solid foundation of construction knowledge.
Oh, for sure.
And to if nothing else, like gives you something to say, hey, you know what, we've put in the work to go above and beyond what anybody around here would expect.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, that's been a common theme too on the show when we're talking to people and we're saying, hey, like you should always interview and see like qualifications and who best fit for you. Sure, you can go get, Johnny over here who has a truck and a ladder,
Yeah.
but what is he really looking at? Or, you can go to somebody like you guys who have been in the industry who actually like take pride in their work and then educate themselves like before you actually are asked to do that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and on occasion we'll have conversations with some of our agents and other professionals in the industry of real estate and whatnot. They'll say, "Oh yeah, I referred you to, I referred my clients to you guys, but they ended up going with, their uncle or their dad and had them do it or whatever."
Right.
You call him Johnny or something, I think.
Yeah.
I usually just call him Uncle Joe.
Okay.
So Uncle Joe goes out and does an inspection. And my response to those kinds of conversations is, that's great. They saved $400-500 for not doing an inspection. On the back end of that, what might be the risk or the cost if they weren't as thorough?
Yeah.
Yes,
for sure.
that's great. He's an electrician or he's framed houses for 20 years. Awesome, but there really truly is something to say. I have a systematic approach to how I perform my inspection, right? And so, for us, we've learned that you have to follow the water.
Yeah.
And so when we start our inspections, we always do the outside first, do the exterior, make sure that things are there. First thing we do after that, we go straight to the roof.
Okay.
And because the roof is going to tell us or give us evidence if there's issues there.
Like water coming
there could be more issues further down the line, right? And so we'll see missing shingles, we'll see damage from trees. That's something that we talk about too when we're looking at houses. What can the trees do to our house?
Oh yeah,
if they're too close to us, right? We live, it's spring right now. We've had a little bit of a windstorm the last couple of days. Trees close to or up against the house can really cause a lot of damage.
Well, I mean, it's like muddy season, so everything's kind of loosening.
Yeah.
So it's just gonna take some of these big gusts of wind and blowing over, or
yeah. So kind of following that kind of format that we have, we always do the roof, then we're right into the attic, and we're just following the water, right? We're upstairs, running the water, make sure things are draining properly, and then as we go downstairs, if things are leaking, we see water issues or water stains. We'll be able to identify those. One of the things I tell people is we're kind of experts of the health of the whole home, right?
Okay.
I'm kind of going back to that health and doctor analogy a little bit.
Yeah.
For example, a few weeks ago, me and one of our guys were doing a really big house, and he saw some water staining on the upstairs bedroom, and but didn't see, being on the roof, didn't see any issues there. So it wasn't really near any kind of plumbing vents or anything like that. So it's kind of a curious spot. Like, why is there water staining
On
here?
here.
So a lot of like inexperienced inspectors or just people that are just trying to do their job, take a picture of that water stain and say, "Hey, there's a water stain here,"
Yeah.
and then move on, right? But what we were able to do is come back together and say, "Hey, I saw a water stain." He found it because I was doing different parts of the inspection. I was actually in the attic, and in the attic, turns out there was actually a second furnace
Oh.
and AC unit up there. And so there was actually condensing pump. And so we made the connection that, hey, there's a potential issue with this condensing pump because there's water stains right below that.
Ooh.
And so that's where like experience and true expertise comes in, where we're not just saying, hey, look, there's an issue here, and hey, look, there's an issue here. It's like there's two issues that these are interconnected.
Right.
And so that's just one example of how, over our years of doing this, we've been able to really truly add that value to helping, our customers understand how things connect and how, the house is almost like a living organism,
Oh, sure.
and making different connections.
I think you guys posted something the other day where it was, I think, a plumber got into uh some beams or something
Yes.
underneath the
Yes.
bathtub.
Yeah. Yeah, we'd like to, kind of showcase some of the things that we find, because some things are fun, right? And interesting. I mean, that's what
That's
it
one
is,
way.
right?
Yeah.
It's an interesting job we have, right? And every house is different. And I love the plumbers. We've got to have plumbers. Boy, they can wreak havoc on a house, because if a structural beam's in the way of their plumbing, man, they're going to make sure that
Go
their
through it.
plumbing is going to work and not really care so much. So I think that was the video that you saw was a plumber. It was actually a remodeled house. They had, upgraded or flipped it. So it's an older home, beautiful, remodel, but you go in the crawl space or in the basement, and right below the tub, if that tub line is granted right on top of a beam, boy, that's a tough one to figure out, right?
Yeah.
So the plumbers, his job is to get the plumbing, not worry about the framing. And so that's where a lot of times the plumbers will just cut the beams
And put their plumbing in,
right.
and then
But think about it,
let
right?
somebody else figure it out
Somebody
later.
else, right?
As soon as you fill up the tub.
Or nobody's gonna figure it out, because who's going in the crawl space to check his work, right? So that's where we see that. But yeah, I mean, to your point, it's a tub, right? We're gonna fill it with 200 gallons or pounds of water, right?
Right.
Then we're gonna get a body in there too,
Another 200 pounds maybe.
and there's this much left of this, like, 8 foot or 8 inch beam, right? So
Go right through.
that's
I think I've seen that in the movies a couple of times. They go flying through. Oh man, I'm sure you guys see some fun stuff out there. That's
Yeah, we were just driving through a new construction neighborhood. We inspect a lot of new construction. We're lucky enough to have some really great and reputable builders in town.
for sure.
Doesn't mean they get it perfect every time, right?
I was gonna ask because I've had some clients who are like, "Well, it's brand new. The city's gonna come out and deem it, available to move in to be occupied.
Yeah.
Do I really need to inspect it?" And I'm always the one who's like, "Yes,
Yeah.
like let's bring that in," because I mean they have a lot on their plate. Are they really going in and with a fine tooth comb and looking at the same things you guys are?
Certainly not. Yeah. So, when we do inspections, we're usually like a full day for us is 2 inspections.
Oh, okay.
And so we're gonna get two. We're only doing 2 days, 2 inspections per day.
So you got a couple hours per house.
We're at least 2 hours almost every house.
Okay.
It's usually closer to that 3 hour time. And that's to go through the whole thing, right?
Well, how close is like how long does the city guy take?
Yeah, and that's the question, right? Like, small town, everybody's short staffed right now, right? And so, how many inspectors are there? How many houses are being built, though, is the big question, right?
There's a lot right now.
Right. So much growth going on in the area. It's like, he may show up to work and have, 30 houses he's got to go evaluate, right?
Right.
And so, is he actually getting into the attic to check to make sure that they insulated it? We've seen that before. In fact,
Really?
I've mentioned before that Jody, who does our scheduling, she's in the office, right? She's been cursed out by builders when she's trying to schedule the inspection, they're all saying, "Hey, we're perfect. There's nothing to inspect here," and they're mad at her.
Right.
And then
I can't imagine anybody getting mad at Jody, by the way. Like, she's the nicest person ever.
She is. She's amazing. She does a great job for us. But yes, like 100% agree with you. There was one in particular. We actually have a recording of it, and he was just totally rude and cussed her out. And I actually was the one that got assigned to that inspection. And I mean, it was nice. It was great. Only a handful of little issues, but the guy forgot to insulate the attic.
Ooh.
And that right there, obviously, you get your money's worth out of the inspection just because of that. And
Oh, yeah.
that's what people want, right? Yes, it's new, but once I close, that house is mine. Yes, with the builder, most of them have a warranty and whatnot. But,
Yeah.
But I've also heard complaints from our clients saying, I close on the house. They promised they were going to make these repairs from your inspection, but they haven't still 6 months later. So there's always that kind of battle. They've already got your money.
Yeah. Oh,
now they're not.
what's their
in no
incentive
hurry
to go do it?
Right. So.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I was kind of saying that earlier is, you don't want to get the report back and start making these cosmetic. Don't ruin your offer by making cosmetic, asks like, oh, the handrail has dents in it, or, all these little things, right? Like, those are things you can, annoyances, but you can take care of that.
Yeah.
We're talking about finding like the insulation. If the beams are cut, saving you, like, again, a $200,000 house. If you're finding a problem that's $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, is it still worth it to buy that, or is that something that you need fixed in order for you to buy that?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's where like the report comes in too. We've put a lot of work into making sure that our reports are clear and concise. We're not too wordy, not using a lot of jargon, right? We want to be, really clear with the clients, always assuming that they don't have much construction knowledge, right?
So you guys do great about explaining, but not like talking down to anybody. Like, you're just on the level, like, hey, look, you're looking at like one of the biggest investments or the biggest investment of your life. Like, here's what you should know about this property.
Yeah.
And like, how long does that take you guys to get those reports out?
Yeah, and I'll say this too, kind of to your point, that's something that we work on intentionally is our communication, right? When we're doing an inspection, we're there typically about 3 hours, we'll say, give or take, right? We've got really good software that we use. Back in the day when I started in 2013, I think it was, started doing my inspections on my own. I had, a little handheld camera, wasn't my smartphone or anything. It was a camera, and I'd take my 2.5, 3 hours to do an inspection. Then I'd have to go back to the office, and it would take me an hour just to match my photos with the report and put them where I want them to go so that I have a nice, clear report.
Yeah.
That matches, this is the deficiency, this is the leak under the sink or the broken truss in the attic.
Yeah.
And put my picture there with it. So it was just an hour of doing that. And then I'm still going through my report to create it all up, right? So, it used to be it used to be more like a 4 to 5 hour process per inspection. The way we do it now is we've got an app on our phone. The pictures line up right where we want them to as we take them in the report. We just, a couple.
So as you're going through the house, you're taking the pictures.
Yep. Just a couple little clicks to get us in that spot where the missing shingle is on the roof. Boom, boom, boom. Take your picture, move on. And so it really develops it over the course of the inspection. And then the way we actually encourage our customers to show up at the inspection at the end, at least. We can come back to that point in a minute, but our guys have a laptop or a tablet, and we actually have it about 90% done by the time the client shows up at the end to review it with them. And that's really a great benefit for them to be there for that portion of it.
Yeah.
Review the report so it's not this like scary document.
Or there's so much like anxiety as in like this pass fail, like, and I feel like some of the buyers like, ooh, what are we going to find? And are we going to lose this house? And of course the sellers are, also chomping at the bit, like, oh my gosh, like, what is this going to break the deal? Or, so it is great. Like, I know I show up. I bug you guys. I show up early. I like walking around and seeing what you're finding. And, a lot of times we like, the other day I show up and walked around and did like a video because the client's not able to be there.
Yeah, and that's a great thing too. Is if you're able to be there, great. Like we'll have a conversation, and I think that really puts a lot more of the context about the inspection.
Mhm.
Because you'll see this big laundry list of all these things. That's our job, right? We're there to
Yeah.
get bad news. You know, um, if all you're doing is getting this laundry list of problems with your house, then
You're
it
pointing out stuff that's
feels
working too, though, right?
we do, yeah. We'll say yes, things are
Working as
working,
intended.
yeah. And the color coding, the way that we prioritize what issues are small versus what issues are bigger, right?
Right.
That really is helpful too. But having a perspective and a conversation with the inspector obviously reduces that anxiety
Oh, for
and
sure.
just gives more clarity, I guess, to what am I buying here, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, you want to have clarity in knowing what you're stepping into and not be surprised at the end. I mean, going back to the new home thing and suggesting it, like you're still finding random things, right?
Mhm.
That you would overlook and you would suppose that are done, right? I mean, we're going through another neighborhood where just we're building all over the
Yeah,
place. You guys must stay really busy.
we are pretty busy. Yes, we actually just started. We're starting next week the interview process for another inspector.
Oh, awesome.
So if anybody's interested in watching this and you think you might have a little bit of background in construction and you might be able to communicate with people, that's the two
Key,
biggest things for
key.
us. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of a better company to go with. I've heard nothing but great things about you. So, I mean, excellent boss right here, guys. So, go interview
Thank you for that.
everybody on the honestly, everybody on the team that I've met and dealt with has been like top notch, like working with. I
Yeah.
enjoy working with you guys.
Yeah, and we're a service based company, right? And that's what we want to do is create the highest standard of service. And that is the interesting thing about our business. I kind of mentioned earlier on, how the the business model of inspecting is evolving and has evolved over the last 5-10 years, where it
Yeah,
used to be just one guy, right? um as we've grown our team and been able to be bring on Jody, for example, to take on the calls and do the scheduling, right?
sure.
We can be a lot more personalized in our service from start to finish, right? So, she's a lot of times the first point of contact for our customers,
Mhm.
and so she's been around with us long enough. She understands the process, what services are important, and so she can consult with the person in that case. What are their needs? What's important to them? Do they have allergies or sensitivity to mold? Is that something that she can present to them and say, hey, this is something that we can offer.
Okay.
It might be good for you, right? So we can be a lot more personalized there, where the inspectors aren't being distracted by scheduling phone calls, right? Or answering questions during inspection. If a single shop inspector is busy inspecting, but he misses that phone call, how is he going to maintain his
Yeah.
next inspection,
Oh, for
right?
sure.
And so for our guys to be able to just like focus 100% on that inspection, obviously that's a much more quality service at that point because he's not distracted.
Well, with keeping with distractions, I mean, you say you like having the client or at least the realtor there, right, to communicate with the client at the end. Is do you want everybody gone from the house? Kind of like a house showing? Like get everybody out, let me do my thing, and at the end come in and we'll go over everything.
Yeah. So first of all, we ask, we don't require, but we ask that the sellers vacate the property for us, right? So we can just be there without distraction. Sellers can be a little, it's a little nerve wracking for them too, right? Uh, yeah, watch this guy. He's not
Does
paying
not
attention.
care.
um, but in terms of for us, when we start the inspection, we like to start on our own. The most important thing for us, be safe, right?
Yeah. Don't be
So
that guy.
don't be that guy. Yeah. Um, so we're first thing we're doing usually first hour or so, we're on the roof, we're in the attic, going up and down ladders and stuff. So doing that without distraction is the
Probably
best part, right?
beneficial.
We're not going to have the clients in the attic. We're not going to have the clients on the roof either, right? So
Okay.
let us do that, kind of get our feet wet and understand kind of the layout of the house.
And
And,
that's
and
where the pictures you take come in handy. Like you
yeah,
can actually show them without climbing up a ladder.
yep. Always lots of pictures everywhere, roof, attic everywhere. So you can see exactly what we're looking at. But then at that point, about after the first hour, hour and a half or so, that's where we encourage them to show up,
Okay.
um, so that they can kind of get that personalized experience.
And at that point, you have a good idea of what you're looking at, right?
Sure, yeah, yeah. So that's just us and part of our process. We feel like the client gets more out of it by being involved
Hmm.
at that point, versus just receiving a long scary report
Yeah.
afterwards.
Like, here you go. You figure it out.
Yeah, we want that kind of face to face interaction and
Absolutely.
answer their questions, right?
Oh, yeah. And so, home inspection. I know a lot of people think home is like the entire lot. Are you looking at everything on the lot, or is it just the structure?
Yeah, it's mainly the house itself,
Okay.
and anything in the immediate around the house. So, for example, some of the things we see with new construction is, has the drainage and the grading been, finalized already? And sometimes the
Going
builders
away
are
from the house.
right. We want that water pouring, draining away and not collecting around the house. That's
Sure.
where you have water issues in the basement, right? So that's one thing. So drainage and grading is a big one. Another one is big trees. Kind of mentioned that a minute ago too.
Yeah.
How are the trees? Are branches up against the house? Is there damage on the roof? If it's a big tree and it's really close, we've seen lots of like really big structural issues and damage from tree roots.
Ooh.
It'll
Oh, yeah.
actually
They're
it'll actually
invasive, right?
push your foundation wall into the house and cause some major issues there. Yeah.
Hey.
Um, so some of that. So those are really the main two that come off the top of my head. One thing coming from Washington, maybe we can go in that backstory too, just kind of how we got into business and
Oh, yeah,
whatnot.
yeah.
But coming from Washington, um, rain's a big thing, right?
Sure.
And started coming out here and seeing these houses that don't have gutters on them. Like the builders weren't putting gutters on these houses. Um, we're in a neighborhood now that they've mostly got gutters here, but
Yeah.
I've done we do houses where they only have gutters over like walkways or anywhere where people may be passing through.
Just keep it from falling
And
into
to
your
me, that
face.
makes no sense. Like, we got to control the water. The water is the biggest enemy to a house,
Hmm.
right? Whether that's mold, causing wood rot, those kinds of things. Uh, Water can just wreak havoc on a house
Oh, yeah.
within days or even hours, right? And so that's just one interesting thing about Idaho. The other thing too is like, you know, we get questions about how do you inspect the roof in the wintertime when there's snow and ice on the roof. The answer is you kind of can't.
Yeah,
Like
right.
nobody really can. You can't really get a good gauge on that house, on that roof, unless you're walking on it like we like to, right?
Right.
Obviously, like you can't put a ladder up on ice on the ground and then get on a slanted roof that's icy and snow covered to be able to get up on there, not to mention actually see the house
Right.
and the roof itself. So those are some questions.
Is there any like telltale sign, like if you're looking at a house and it's like covered in snow, but like, is there any way to tell like the insulation isn't good?
Yeah, yeah. If you don't have insulation in your attic, obviously you're losing all that heat
Hmm.
through the attic, ultimately through the roof. And so we do see on occasion where all the houses in the neighborhood have snow or frost on them, except for the
That
one.
one,
And that one, you could
the heat's
say
got to go somewhere, and
there's no insulation there. Definitely, yeah.
that's that's that'd be wild to see.
Yeah.
I feel like my house, because we have a dark, so like our house is like super hot all the time.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's interesting. So spring is coming up. Is there like a suggestion on like how far away to plant trees? Because I know a lot of people like I'm gonna be planting some fruit trees and stuff coming up, and some privacy
Sure, yeah.
trees going. Is there a suggested like distance from the house?
Yeah, you really do want. We just passed the house while you're asking that question. It had big evergreen bushes,
Hmm.
and I'm sure they were nice and 4 or 5 feet away from the house when they planted them. Right, these things are huge now, and they're really growing up on the house. Probably not going to cause like any issues with the foundation. If it's just a bush.
Hmm.
If it's a tree, obviously, and it's going to grow up, you want to put those 10, 20 feet away from the house.
Okay.
You don't want branches up on the house ever if you need to, right? But yeah, I mean, you don't want anything up on the house. It's for one, it's going to cause water to be trapped up against the exterior, right? And so, especially if you have like a wood siding, something like that, moisture again, like we talked about, it's an enemy to a house.
Right.
So that's a big one. We don't really deal with it here like we do in other parts of the country, like in Washington. There are wood destroying organisms. So they're called moisture ants. They're called termites, right? So those can be a bridge from a bush or something that's infested,
And like,
and then moving over to your house.
I didn't even think about that.
I will say we do on occasion. It is rare, but on occasion we do run into issues with termites and things around here.
Really?
Really, you see it a little bit more the further south you go. We're cold enough here in Idaho Falls proper, where it's not so much an issue. I actually heard, what was it? It was a few years ago. They were building a school, I think, in Pocatello, I think it was, and some load of lumber brought in a lot of termites apparently, and really kind of introduced the termites to that area. And so it's actually become more of an issue there more recently in recent years. That's a big boo-boo.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Is it hard to be an inspector out here and like drive by neighborhoods, like because you just see things all the time?
Yeah, we've probably driven by houses that I've inspected personally.
Oh, I'm sure.
Just in a 10-minute drive here, right, or 20-minute drive or so. And I haven't even been full-time inspecting the last couple of years, so our guys probably do the same thing. It's like, been in that
one. I remember when that was this. So how did you get started in this industry?
Yeah, interesting question, because most people don't grow up thinking they're going to be a home inspector.
Right. I think it's the same for realtors. We kind of like fall into it.
Yeah. In fact, one time I think my son was about 6. I was like, "Hey, buddy, what do you think you want to be when you grow up?" And he's like, "I want to be a home inspector, Dad." And I'm like, "Awesome, dude." I'm pretty sure it's more like I want to be a gamer or a streamer.
Sure.
At this point for him now, but yeah, interesting thing. I went to BYU, Idaho. I got my degree in construction management.
Okay.
And so my background is in construction, as it is already. But at the time, I was working for a contractor in Seattle, doing remodels and ground up construction. And we ended up buying a house. And during the home buying process, obviously, you get an inspection. And so I was like, oh, I could do this. I was hanging out with the inspector, and he kind of was telling me about how you get your license in Washington. And he's like, yeah, if you want to, you get serious about it, you can come do your ride along hours with me. That's part of the kind of the licensing process.
Okay.
So
like on the job training.
Yep. You got to take two-week class and then on the job training, just to shadow a guy. And so that's kind of how it worked out. So that's kind of how I got introduced to the whole concept. I had no idea what a home inspection was before that, home buying process for me and our family at that point. And so that's kind of how we got into it. So that was back in Washington in 2013.
Okay.
We ran that business and grew it to the point where I could comfortably quit the job that I had and do this full time.
That's awesome.
And then we continued to just kind of grow the team, and ultimately decided, you know what, Washington's probably not for us anymore.
Okay.
It was a great place to grow up for me, but has changed a lot over the years, and just wasn't the right setting for us and our kids. So
yeah,
that's how we ended up back out
here. I love the rain, but 360 days a year is a little bit much for me.
Yeah, you've got so the way that it's kind of an ongoing joke in Washington, Seattle area, winter ends on July 5th.
Okay.
Because for some reason, on July 4th, it still rains somehow.
Oh, yeah.
And so winter goes, and when I say winter, I mean wet, dark, rain.
Just, yeah.
And so, weather always turns to the summer, July 5th, and then you got about a month and a half of summertime, and then fall hits, and you're back to rain.
Start that over, yeah. So, as we're wrapping up, is there anything buyers or sellers should be doing, like prior, I guess, well, more seller side, right?
Sure, yeah.
Should the sellers be doing anything prior to your inspection? Like, you're getting ready to list your house. What are like some key things to like check out?
Yeah, first of all, a little plug on our pre-listing inspections.
Oh, okay.
We do a lot of those. We're doing more and more of them actually now. Um, but what that does is provide some transparency, I think is a good way to put it, especially if you're going to provide that report to a potential buyer down the road.
Sure.
Um, and kind of gets the condition questions
Out of the way.
done and out of the way with up front, right? So we're not rehashing out, negotiating,
Yeah.
and all this stuff.
There's no
after
big
the fact.
surprises showing up.
Right.
Because they say, well, when I write a contract, I'm asking for like 7 to 14 days to do our due diligence.
Yeah.
To get our inspector. And I get you guys come out, and then we have a time period to go over that. So you're saying that you guys can come in before we even do anything.
Yeah. Yeah, because we're going to have that same perspective as another inspector, right, Mike, for a home buyer.
Sure.
And so, a couple benefits of it is you've eliminated any like major surprises that maybe you didn't know about. If we or we've discovered them, right? At that point, you can, the seller has the opportunity to make a repair, and
adjust price or something like that.
Adjust price, get quotes. A lot of times if you're like, dang, I got to close in 20 days and I can't get anybody out for 30 days, you might have a premium cost on top of that to get somebody out on a rush kind of a situation, right?
For sure.
So we're saving potential dollars at that point too, because we're not rushing to meet a deadline to close. So those are some of the major benefits, right? You can provide the quotes and just say, hey, here's the report. We haven't made the repairs, but here's the pricing, potential costs for making those repairs and whatnot, and come with your best offer, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to trick a home buyer into something, right?
No.
They're going to find it whether you do the inspection or they do the inspection, right? So at some point that information is going to come to light. And so you deal with it at that point. In terms of like helping us during our inspection process, biggest thing for us is like we just need access to everything.
Don't be putting your boxes up in front of like panels and stuff.
Right. Yeah. We need to see the electrical system, the electrical panel. That's a big one, right? And so people, get into the habit of just like putting boxes up or hanging their their tools and things behind or in front of an electrical panel.
Okay.
Making sure your cars are pulled out so we can get to the attic, which is it's in the garage, right? Otherwise, we're gonna have to come back out, or it's just more of an inconvenience, right? Another thing is, please don't try to hide things from us. We've seen that where people have put boxes in corners trying to hide water intrusion,
like pictures in front of stuff.
Yeah, holes in the wall, those kinds of things. Like,
for sure.
That's just going to cause more issues. Whether maybe you are successful and you hide that water intrusion from us, right?
Right.
But
and then it comes back later.
Someone's going to find it eventually. That home buyer's going to move in, and like I said, we take lots of pictures. We're going to document all those boxes that are there, and we're going to say, dang it, the seller put the boxes there. We couldn't see it. Hopefully we're not talking about, legal issues and things like that now between buyer and seller, right?
Oh, yeah. So don't cover stuff up. Don't be shady, people. Yeah. Let's be real. Let's just, present what you got to understand. You're probably going to go buy something else too. Right. And so you want the same for you. If there's a problem, we'll address it. But
and be nice to our guys.
Right.
They're just great guys doing a job, and
you guys are messengers. And it kind of stinks sometimes the message isn't exactly what you want to hear.
Yeah.
But it's not like you're out there with a sledgehammer trying to break stuff, and you're not in cahoots with some builders trying to get like money on the side to do more stuff. So
builders don't like us usually.
I was just gonna say you're probably not their favorite, but it's okay.
Yeah,
it's all right. Well, thanks for coming on again. We'll have to revisit this because I'm sure there's tons of other stories that we could get into.
Oh yeah, I got lots of stuff.
But guys, don't be shady. Hire an inspector by all means. It may be $500 up front, but it could save you thousands and thousands of dollars in the long run. So be smart with your decisions and hire a professional and get it done.
Yeah.
Till next time, guys, have a good one.
Thanks for riding along on Where the Road Gets Real. We appreciate you listening and watching. If you enjoyed the conversation or want to be part of it, please share, like, subscribe, or reach out to join us on the show. Until then, we'll catch you on the next one.